Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea Time with Tasha. I'm Assemblymember Tasha Berner, and I have the privilege of representing the San Diego Coast in the State Assembly. On my podcast, you get to meet with state and local leaders who are talking about issues and working on issues that matter most. And today, I'm very lucky to have businesswoman and Carlsbad City Council member Teresa Acosta. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. So you made history as the first Latina and first single mom elected to the Carlsbad City Council. What early experiences in your life did you have that made you want to enter public service? Because it's not easy and it's not obvious and it's hard.
Yeah.
So what made you want to be a public servant?
I would say there's a few things. The first is that I'm the youngest of 6 in a Mexican-American family where my parents had been very involved in social justice movements in the 60s and 70s. They were big fans of Cesar Chavez, and I think they raised all of us with the idea that we needed to care about others, care about social justice, and give others whatever extra resources we may have. The second thing I would say is that I went to Catholic school, and at the Catholic school we talked about morality and justice and compassion and empathy. These things really affected me. I believe in the school motto still. It's one of my personal mottos, which is actions, not words. You can say something and say you believe in something, but you should need to walk the walk. Yeah, so I would say the third one is that I became a mom young. I was 20 when I had my daughter. That was 26 years ago, if you can believe it. She's 26. So as a mom, I think my perspective changed and I really gained a long-term view of the things we do now affecting future generations, like beyond my daughter, my grandchildren, her children and grandchildren, right? So as a policymaker, you kind of understand that the things you're doing now are going to last for many decades, so you have to be very careful.
Would your 19, 20, 21-year-old self have ever expected you to be elected?
I don't know. I have had times when I was already a leader in high school and in college. In high school, I was a president of a couple of clubs, and in college, I was a chief copy editor of the Daily Trojan at USC. So I had leadership positions as a young person, but I never really wanted to run for public office. I thought that it would be a lot of scrutiny and maybe less privacy for me, especially as a young mom. I always wanted to protect and guard my daughter from that. At the same time, it's that drive to make a difference and caring and having that compassion for others that is really what led to me running for office. Like really just wanting to make that difference, knowing I could, and caring about the community.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I know you got elected a couple years after me, and I remember looking around and saying, no one really looks like me. And so it seems so far. And I had studied political science, right? And so I imagine that must have been the case for you. Like you'd seen it, you'd been working around politics, right?
Yes.
But seeing yourself in that position and the scrutiny you get and the lack of privacy for our children, it feels different. Like the kids didn't run for office, I ran for office. So you couldn't have scrutiny over me, but not the children. Yeah. And so how's that been since being elected to the city council?
I think there are some things I have to always guard, like my personal privacy and my daughters, my family. At the same time, the positivity, the influence and the ability to make a positive difference outweigh anything negative, right? So just the ability to stand up for people who have never been at the table as the first Latina or as the first single mom. People have not seen themselves reflected at that leadership table before, and being there, knowing that I am incorporating their interests, their feedback into policymaking is everything.
So how do you do that? You do safety, you do, like your stated goals are public safety, affordability, and sustainability. So how does that translate into policies? Like what concrete things are you working on, have worked on, have accomplished, or are still working on? in that space.
Yeah, they all work together, right?
Yeah.
So for public safety, Carlsbad has a police department and a fire department. It's very clear that over the last 5 years I've been on the council, this has been a priority for me to work with them. We've increased our police force. We have updated our public safety training center, which is state of the art, and teams from all over the country come to train with us.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Carlsbad at our public safety training center. We have a new fire station in my district, Fire Station 2, right on El Camino Real, which was very outdated from the 60s. It was a wood shingle fire station, which is so ironic.
I know, like
it attracts fire instead of prevents it. So we remodeled that. We tore it down and built a new one, and it's a really nice fire station. But it's not just police and fire that I support. It's also having safer streets. So I want to thank you because you've been working on e-bike legislation with us at the City of Carlsbad. But it's been so important to talk about safe routes to school, safer streets, especially in light of fatalities that we have had in Carlsbad. Yeah. It's so tragic. And we want to do everything we can to raise awareness of safer streets and to legislate in any way that we can.
Yeah. And I think, what I always say is people should have the safety of choosing how they get around. They should have the safety to choose to walk, to bike, to drive. All of them should be equally safe options. And unfortunately, that's road infrastructure. And I can do some stuff from the state, but I have to partner with you guys. So you guys were a great partner and sponsors of AB 2234, my e-bike training, not my e-bike training bill, my e-bike pilot project, yes, and in San Diego County.
We took a three-pronged approach to our safer streets, and it's engineering, what you're talking about, education, working with the community, because some of the very prominent cases where somebody got hurt were because of a distracted driver, texting while driving and just blowing through a stop sign. So we have to make the community understand their responsibility to follow the law. And then the third part is enforcement, is really having that traffic enforcement and dedicating the dollars to that. So we're doing all of those things. I would say another of my three priorities, sustainability. There's a lot to point to and be proud of in sustainability in Carlsbad in the 5 years that I've been here. Among them, I would say EV chargers. Thank you again for helping get some funding in the city of Carlsbad.
It's always nice when things align, right? Like, it's it's harder when things are malaligned, but like when they line up and you're like, you want EV chargers, I can get you EV chargers. Let's go do this,
Yeah. Well, Carlsbad's really focused on renewable energies. We have our own CCA, the Clean Energy Alliance, that we participate with a number of cities in San Diego County. And the city made a promise this year. We transition all city buildings to 100% renewable energy.
Good for you.
Thank you. That's in our climate action plan. We're very proud of that. I've been fighting for years for an environmental sustainability commission. We just got it.
Good job.
Transitioned to that. And then this year we opened a community garden, our first community garden in South Carlsbad. So we had three others in the northern part of Carlsbad, and we just opened the fourth one in South Carlsbad in my district.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So there's a number of things that we're working on. We've banned plastics in our city, single-use plastics, and are still working on a number of other initiatives. I work very closely with the Sierra Club, and other environmental organizations. But there's more to be done. We're working on it. So amongst those things, I wanted to say is the parks. We have 14 parks. We have 67
Beautiful
miles
parks.
of trails.
Oh, yeah.
We really
I was just
focus on
hiking
that.
last week in Calaveras.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, with the lake over there too. And
I didn't know there was a lake. Do you know that?
Yeah.
I was hiking and I was like, what's that? And they're like, that's a lake. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea we had a lake.
Yeah. And it's an extinct volcano over there.
Yes, I didn't know that either. So next
cool.
time I go back next week, I'm supposed to go up to the top of the volcano.
Okay.
I didn't trust myself.
So another thing that you helped us with was the Veterans Memorial
Oh,
Park
yes,
that
yes.
is about to open.
Oh, great.
So we have 93.5 acres that the city has been able to purchase at Cannon and Faraday, and we'll be opening a Veterans Memorial Park. We're about to have our ribbon cutting for the development, but we've been going through all of the different pieces of the RFPs for the different designers and getting the public art and the community input to make sure that we're all aligned. So that's taken a little bit, but with your help and Congressman Levin's help, we've been able to get the extra funding to move us to where we are now, which is about to have the groundbreaking.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. It's, parks or community gardens or the ocean, they all, being in nature is this thing where it can heal parts of yourself.
That's right.
And when they're free and they're accessible,
Yes.
it's just a great form of free therapy. At least that's how I view it.
That's right. So I do say my stated priorities are public safety, which we talked about, environmental sustainability, and then the third one I say is affordability. And people say, how do you achieve affordability? Like, what do you mean by that? And I have to say, affordability is more about the lens that I use as a policymaker to ensure that everybody is considered whenever we are doing something at the city. We're not going to raise fees. I've been there. I've been there when someone has said we're just raising the cost of that by $10, and no, I don't understand why, and it's going to affect my household budget. So always keeping in mind the families, the working families, the seniors on fixed income, the young adults just starting out that would struggle with a $10 increase per month. So we always have to think about affordability. And then the other policy implication of that is that we have to plan proactively for the future, like I was saying as a mom, and think about housing, think about infrastructure maintenance, so that things don't start breaking down and that we do provide for a housing supply where everyone can afford to live in Carlsbad.
I always call it giving our kids a shot at this beautiful place to come back and call it home, right? Like, you can't guarantee it, but you can give people a shot.
That's right.
And sometimes you need different types of options for housing. Carlsbad actually does a great job at that.
Thank you.
And it's like very under-recognized, I think, in the state and in my district, of what a great job you guys are doing on housing.
I think a big part of that is our inclusionary housing ordinance.
Yes.
So we set aside 15% of any development over 6 units for low-income housing.
Yeah.
Like, it's required for every developer. So if they want to build 100 units, they're going to set aside 15% of those, 15 of them for this, for low-income housing. So no matter where it is, it could be on the coast, it could be inland on a hilltop with an ocean view, all of them will have that.
And I think that people forget what low-income in San Diego means. Like, low-income is our firefighters, our police officers, our teachers, our nurses.
That's right.
Right? Like, that's what low income is in San Diego. And when they're all living east, it means they're not part of our community. And we know, especially when you have them for sale, when people can invest in a community, and invest in housing and buy a house, which is a hard thing these days, generally in the country and in California. But when they can do that, we make our communities more resilient. And there are all these added benefits that people forget that are tied to that, you know? And so, and that's great. So not only are you doing things in Carlsbad, but you sit on a bunch of regional boards, including the County Water Authority. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're a high-ranking official in the League of Cities.
Yes.
So how do you see your priorities as a council member with these priorities on either regional boards or with the League of Cities at the state level policy? How do you see they're similar or different?
So I would say it starts with Carlsbad, right? So in my role in Carlsbad, I see the specialness of Carlsbad, right? I see that we care about our low crime and fast response times, that we care about the future of climate resiliency for us as the climate changes, and we need to be prepared for that, especially for wildfires in our city. You know, we're looking at these issues that we think are so unique to Carlsbad, and then we realize there are other cities, not just in the region, but all over the state, that have very, very similar issues. So not all of them. We may be different from a rural community in some ways where their economy is ag-based, agricultural-based, or we may be different from a huge city that is very, very urban because we're suburban. But there are still some things that will cross all cities, like needing more housing or having to prepare for climate change, as I was saying. So there's certainly things that cut across all of us. Working regionally and collaboratively with other organizations is so important because we can share best practices. We can.
So do you have an example of one of those best practices? Like, what is something from the Water Authority? I think when people hear Water Authority, especially if they're not from San Diego, but let's just say, like, we have constituents in Carlsbad listening to this, people hear the water authority and they don't know.
understand.
They don't understand it. So why don't you explain what is an example of that makes it really brings it home to people?
Yeah.
Or what is something about that you're doing at the League of Cities that brings it home for people?
Yeah. Let me start with the water authority, just so people know that the water authority is the wholesaler of water for the region.
So it's like the Costco of water.
Yes, and then there are local water districts that are the retailers. So for us, it's Carlsbad Municipal Water District for most of the city, but we also have a Liebenheim Municipal Water District that covers a lot of my district in the south part of Carlsbad, and Vallecillos. So that's the water district that will be on their water bill. Behind that is a blend of water from different sources, including Colorado River water, Northern California water that's brought down from the Sierras, desal water, that comes from the ocean through the plant in Carlsbad. So all those waters are blended together, and the infrastructure to maintain that is gigantic. We have 9-foot pipes that are bringing in this water.
Like 9 foot, like this
drive
is
a car
like
through it.
You could drive a car through
Yes.
it. That's a great way, like
Yes.
visual for people. Yeah.
Yes, and if that infrastructure is maintained and is working, then we all have the water that we have for a penny or up to 2 cents a gallon. Imagine, you're buying bottled water for like at a hotel, like $8 at the airport, or $2 at the store. But it's a cent or 2 cents per gallon tap water that you're paying if everything goes well. If our maintenance is not kept up and there's an issue, then that becomes very expensive to fix. These huge and possibly disastrous if one of them were to have a problem, a crack or anything worse. So it's important that we continue to maintain that infrastructure on a regular schedule, and it's all over. It's hundreds and hundreds of miles of infrastructure throughout our region. So that's the kind of work that we're doing with there's 33 other board members besides me. So it's a big board.
It is a big board. I
and
didn't realize that.
Talking about water, we have board meetings once a month. They're very public, and people can come to those, and people can always contact me. I'm very accessible.
Yeah.
So people can email me and ask me questions, and I'm happy to talk about it. The League of Cities is the association of all the cities of California. So there's 483 cities. We're just one of 483 cities. However, with my role as an officer,
and give us your title, because I didn't get the title.
I'm the first vice president.
First vice president
of the board.
Does that mean next year you're president?
Yes, next year I will be president.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it's exciting.
Representing of the 483 cities.
Yes.
The president of the League of Cities is going to be Carlsbad in 2026.
That's right. It's very exciting. Thank you. It's a 126-year-old organization.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the past presidents. There have been 11 from the San Diego region. Of the 11, 9 were San Diego City Council members. 2 were not. One from Oceanside and one from Chula Vista. And I will be the third person, from Carlsbad. First in almost 20 years from the San Diego region, and really just elevating, what it's like in this region, in the furthest part of Southern California. Sometimes at the state, when they say Southern California, they mean referring to LA.
They mean LA. Yeah, I know. I hear this all the time. They always mean LA.
And
I'm like, well, there's the rest of us too, and there's the Inland Empire and the San Bernardino, and
Riverside.
Everybody forgets about Imperial and all the lithium out there, unless it's about lithium, and then they remember. But yeah,
Right. So it will be very exciting to be president. But even now, we have a board of almost 60 people for the League of California Cities. Every single one of us is a city official, and we talk about issues that are common to all cities. So we talk about things like local control over land use. We talk about things like climate resiliency. We talk about housing and homelessness. We talk about ensuring fiscal responsibility for cities and whatever we can do to make cities strong. So the tagline is strengthening cities through advocacy and education.
Advocacy and education. Well, when you were talking about the Water Authority, it reminded me that I sit on Water Parks and Wildlife. It's one of the committees I have in Sacramento. And I've avoided most of the water fights for like 6 years. Then I got on Water Parks and Wildlife. And it is crazy how people, the state infrastructure we need to provide water. People forget, like utilities, like whether it's energy, water, wastewater, trash. those are really complex utilities to provide, and the infrastructure for them is statewide. Unless you're in like Northern California and you have a natural spring in your backyard, you're relying somehow on this infrastructure, and it's very complex.
It's
and
true.
so
We don't have a lot of local supply in San
Yeah.
Diego region. There are some wells that some people can take advantage of, but most of our water is a blend from the sources that I
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah.
Colorado River, State Aqueduct from Northern California, and desal. We are now working, a lot of our local communities are working on pure water,
Yeah.
which I'm sure people have heard about, but it's really purifying your local water into tap water. So that is something that a lot of City of San Diego, City of Chula Vista, and I want to say Santee in East County is
Oceanside.
working on it. What did
Oceanside.
I say? Oceanside.
Also
I said Chula
Oceanside,
Vista.
yeah.
Yes. So we even have a pilot project on Encina wastewater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're working on. I think it's a little further, not as far along.
Yeah, yeah.
As some of the others. But that is a very expensive endeavor. The good thing about it is that it's climate resilient.
Yeah.
So if there's a drought, you can still recycle your local water.
Yeah.
It will always be available regardless of whether it's a rainy year or a dry year. That's the other good thing about the desal plant too, is that we're able to desalinate ocean water regardless of whether it's a rainy year or not. So those are some things that we have done in our region to protect ourselves from climate change.
Yeah. And as much as water, you were saying it's like a penny or 1 cent or 2 cents per gallon. We forget that having water and clean water, like there's parts of this state that do not have clean water. And you come here
Yeah.
and we have energy, we have water, we have wastewater, we have a clean ocean. We're very lucky, unless you go to the southern part, and then we have the Tijuana River sewage crisis, which is the largest cross-border environmental disaster,
Yes.
I think, at least in North America, if not in the Northern Hemisphere. I don't know of anyone that's similar to it. And so, but getting back to what you were saying about local control, one of the things when I was on city council, I'm sure you've experienced it, is you go out into the community and there are people who feel disengaged from local government. How do you think your background, being a single mom, being a businesswoman, how do you take those experiences, and translate them into connecting communities, creating communities, and really making government seem not so far away from everyday people?
Yeah. Early in my career, I did work on community outreach a lot, and I do believe that there are some tried and true ways of engaging people. One of those things is to meet them where they're at, right? So to go find the places where there's a group of people that might be interested and offer. Like, I'd love to come speak to your HOA, or I'd love to come speak to your club or your group. Or your class. I go to a lot of schools and speak to a lot of students, really approaching people where they are and asking them, what do you want to hear about? What can I help you understand or learn about, so that you can have a role too? Because I think democracy is really founded on people participating.
Yeah.
And yet we're all so busy. I get it. Like, I'm busy too. We're all so busy that it's hard to find the time to engage unless people come to you.
Yeah. And I think, like, 2 things that I want to follow up on is, one, I think public trust in government is the foundation of democracy. And when they put a name or a face and a person, and you're not like some abstract, the government, but you're like Teresa, Tasha.
Yeah.
I go to classrooms all the time too, because when my job gets hard, all I have to do is go in and talk to a bunch of 2nd or 3rd graders, some engaged high school students, and I remember why I'm doing the job that I do, because it's so rewarding to see their hope. And yet there's a lot of fear there in the next generation, right? There's there's like this tension between hope and hopelessness, right? Like when I go in and talk to classrooms, they worry about the climate crisis in a way. When we were kids, we didn't worry about the climate crisis. We were drinking out of hoses. Well, I was drinking out of hoses. Maybe you graduated from hoses, but my Gen X age, we drink out of hoses and whatever. And so when you bring that back, I think it comes down to public trust and building that community and speaking in whatever spaces we're speaking in. creates that trust and creates that familiarity. And then what I often hear from people, and I'm sure you do too, is people are like, "You're a real person," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm kind of weird." I don't think you're as weird as me, but like I'm kind of weird. Like my hair's in a ponytail and I'm in yoga pants.
We call that normal. Like
yeah,
you're.
I try not to use normal. Normal feels judgmental.
Okay.
Like I guess weird is also judgmental, but it's like self-deprecating, so it's okay. And we talked about this. Both of us, we said at the beginning that neither of us really saw ourselves in politics. And for me, it was because people didn't look like me. And I think for you, you were saying it's because you worried about kind of your privacy and your family and everything like that. So when we're thinking about young women who are potentially watching this in the district or throughout the state, and they want to enter public service or they want to go into leadership roles, what advice would you give them?
I would say two things. Two things, very simple, and I can explain each one. Learn and network. Mm-hmm. And I would say for the learn one, there are a lot of leadership programs. There are, like for me, I was in one called HOPE.
Which stands for?
Hispanas Organized for Political Equality. Mm-hmm. It's a nonpartisan nonprofit that helps train young women in leadership, just general leadership. But there are many other programs. Like in Carlsbad, we have the Carlsbad Citizens Academy.
Yes, you do. I love it.
It's a great program. It's free, where people can apply 15 and up. That's all. You can be 15 years old and apply and get into the program. The only reason somebody wouldn't get into the program is if it's full, because it fills up. It's very popular. People come to the city, I think 5 days every session. So it's like a Thursday night. People come after school or after work to show up, and they meet a bunch of city officials and learn all about what's happening at the city. Every night has a different theme. So one night might be traffic safety. Another night might be public safety and police and fire. So every night the citizens, the local community, learn about Carlsbad. There's one at the Water Authority too.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's the
I probably needed that back
San
in my
Diego
day.
County Water Authority Citizens Academy.
It.
It's a mouthful, but they also have it twice a year, and we've just graduated our 1,000th student from the Water Academy. So there are these free programs where people can learn. I would say the other half of that is network. And
you're a great networker. I've seen you. I was like, I need to learn some tips.
Thank you.
Teresa's tips.
Thank you. But I think even in participating in these programs, there's a lot of people who have the same interests, right? Mm-hmm. They're there possibly for similar reasons. So just meeting other people and exchanging a business card and staying in touch in case there's anything that might be of mutual interest. And then finding people. So for a young woman, find a person that is doing the job that you want in the future. For example, they want to be an assembly member.
Don't do it.
And they meet you to be able to say, like, I would love to learn more about your journey and what brought you here, and try to learn as you network from that person. If you can find a mentor, like somebody who's willing to actually spend and has the time to spend with you, that's even better. But to even just have one conversation and learn from these other people that are in that position. It's kind of like you dress for the position that you want. Yeah. That's the advice they tell young people in the office. But it's also learn from the people that you want to be like in the future. So those are my 2 pieces of advice: are learn and network.
Learn and network. Mm-hmm. Well, those are great tips to end on, Teresa. Thank you for joining me on my podcast. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, and share with everyone you know. Also, feel free to let me know who you'd like to see on one of my upcoming podcasts. And with that, thank you for tuning in, and see you next time on Tea Time with Tasha.